Hey everyone, welcome to a new video. I hope you had a great day. Let's take a look at some new r/malicious compliance stories, shall we? The first story is called He Wouldn't Listen. I work in a very small authorized Apple service provider, which basically means we do all of the same stuff as Apple regarding repairs and retail. I am the only female in the store who is licensed to do consultations and upfront diagnosis on MacBooks and other Apple devices. As you can imagine, this can lead to a lot of uncomfortable conversations with individuals who don't think I am capable of doing my job. A week ago, a man came in with an early 2015 MacBook Pro that was having issues with the mouse freezing every few seconds, making it practically unusable. The man insists that the problem is derived from the display freezing and had nothing to do with the rest of the system. As is protocol, I recommend to him that we need to add a $99 out-of-warranty diagnosis on the computer. This issue is usually caused by a faulty or degrading SSD, which is quite common for this particular model. Instead of taking my advice, the man begins to yell at me. He was ranting about how he would rather see someone he knew was capable of helping him, and how I didn't know what I was talking about because it was clearly an issue with the display. I attempted to explain to him that doing a diagnosis would potentially save him hundreds of dollars. A display replacement would cost close to $1,000, and we would not be refunding him if replacing the display did not fix the issue. True to form, he continued to push that he did not want to do a diagnosis as he was confident that it would fix the problem. At this point I'm over it and have other customers to help. So I book in his computer for a display replacement, knowing it would not fix the problem. He pays, still ranting about the fact that he did not get to see a real technician, and leaves. We fit the part, and as expected, upon boot up, the mouse is still freezing. We call him and explain that the issue is still persisting and that we would need to do a full diagnosis along with a likely SSD replacement. After much complaining, he agrees and goes ahead with the remaining repair, costing him another $300 or so. Lo and behold, as soon as it boots up with the new SSD, it is working perfectly. The customer returns, only to be greeted by yours truly. I go get his computer from the back. And then I explain with a massive smile on my face. Well, as you may be aware, the issue was due to a failing SSD and not the display, as I mentioned it may have been during our last consultation. Since we replaced the SSD, your computer will be running much faster now and should last you another few years. Regarding the display, since you insisted we didn't do the diagnosis during the initial booking, the display fee cannot be refunded. While telling him this, he doesn't ask questions, he kept his head down in shame as he paid what could have been the original price if only he had listened to my advice. The next story is called Sure Buddy. Years ago I worked at a busy corporate sit-down burger restaurant. One day I'm hustling through the lunch rush and I have 6 college guys sit down. One guy flicks me over and loudly pronounces that they are ready to order right away. What are you guys having? Guys, the same guy says with a smirk on his face. Guys, that doesn't sound like a very professional greeting to me. I work at a restaurant too, and if I walked up to a table and asked, "What are you guys having?" my manager would definitely let me know that was inappropriate. The other guys at the table look kind of uncomfortable at this exchange and just silently sit there. The main guy looks around at all of them and keeps going. Why don't you come up to us again and do it right? At this point I'm looking around at my massive section of tables and getting the distinct feeling I'm going to be at this table forever. I'm trying to not lose my cool, so I smile. Sure, I say. I take several steps back and walk up again. Gentlemen, how are you all doing? Ready to order? The main guy smirks and nods and I look directly at him. How about you, Chief? What are you having today? Some of the other guys laugh. He looks angrily at me, but orders his burger and a drink. I get everyone's order and hustle off. I return with drinks a little while later. I set everyone's drinks down and do the main guy last. Here you go, boss. I leave before he can say anything. Through the course of their meal, I call him a different nickname every time. You need a refill, Paul? How's your burger, buddy? Need more ketchup, bro? Can I get that plate out of your way, dude? Any dessert for you, amigo? Need me to split your check, brother? Make sure to leave me a signed copy, muchacho. So by this time, this guy is boiling. His friends are loving it though. As time has gone on, the rest of them keep looking at me expectantly. What nickname next? Finally, they all get up to leave. Lunch rush has ended and I'm chilling at this point. I casually walk up to them. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming in. The rest of the group is smiling. I look at the main guy. And you have a fantastic day, horse. The rest of the guys cheer. They all head out. I grab all their receipts on the table. Surprise, surprise, the main guy left me 0 for a tip. But I didn't care, it was all worth it. The last story is called Should Have Listened. Before we start the story, I have to tell you that this story may be fictional, and if not, it is highly controversial, but I still think it's a funny story. A year out of school in the early 1990s, I procured a job as a business analyst for a large family-owned tech company. This business was located in the booming heart of technology at the time and was very profitable. As tech took off over the next decade, the company thrived and remained family-owned. What was a rich family and company became exceedingly wealthy with a valuation net worth in the high 9, low 10 figures. The family that owned it was quite neurotic, very moody and had a reputation as very ruthless, greedy when it came to financing, deal-making and employees. I truly believe this is what held them back from ultimately becoming a household name as a company. As I progressed in the company, I gained more and more face time with the owners. I worked on some projects directly with ownership that really paid off and gained me even greater access to their inner circle. Now, like a lot of people at the time, and particularly those who worked in tech, I was heavily invested in tech stocks. I discussed some of my investments and gains with ownership as casual conversation, though investing had nothing to do with my role in the company. That is until one day in late 1999 when the owner came to me and asked me if I would invest some of his personal money. He wanted me to take big risks to see if they would pay off using $1 million of his personal money. I was a bit hesitant, but still being in my late 20s and wanting to prove myself, I said I would. I asked for a written agreement where they acknowledged that this was my role in the company. That this was a personal matter between the owner and me, and to document my compensation for the side arrangement, 20% of all profits. Around the same time, and by working in the industry, I started to notice the weakness associated with a lot of tech companies. They just weren't living up to their hype and stock price, and some seemed like they were starting to run out of money. I had no inside information, just a strong sense of which companies were struggling based on my work in the business. Based on this sense, I started using both my money and the owner's money to short tech companies just after the new year in 2000. For anyone unfamiliar with shorting, it means if the value of a stock decreases, the value of the investment increases. I had a few long positions, but my overall position was very short. Since the owner wanted big risk and big reward, I used his money and obtained leverage or margin from the financial institution where I maintained both his and my trading accounts. The accounts were separate, but both under my name. Again, I documented this and gained consent. Well, both my account and his suffered some moderate losses in the first 2 months of 2000 before the bubble began to burst and both accounts, but his in particular, began to skyrocket. In June, the company began to suffer a downturn. We were still profitable, but since we provided tech services and products, we were not immune to weaknesses in the broader market. I had not informed the owner of my short strategy. He came to me one day and asked how his money was doing, saying he suspected it was way down, like the general market. To his surprise, I informed him that while we still had some money tied up in options, puts and shorts, but based on the options I had closed, there was 1.35 million in cash sitting in the account that belonged to him. Again, I still had a bunch of open positions which, if memory serves, were both about $1 million on that date. But the positions I had closed had yielded 1.35 million in cash just sitting in his account, which was in my name. The owner, either through ignorance or lack of attention, said, "Great, 1.35 million. Fantastic work in this down market. Will you please wire it to me?" I responded that I would, but would be taking my 20% of the 350,000 profit, or 70,000, before wiring him 280,000. I also reminded him I still had open positions that had yet to pay off or close, but I didn't state the amount. He, once again, appeared not to understand or comprehend the open position statement, but instead totally focused on and became incensed about my rightful claim for $70,000. He went on and on about how times were tough, I should be grateful for a job, particularly at my young age, and the entire $350,000 was necessary for him and the company. I knew this wasn't true based on my position within the company. Worse, this was my first time personally experiencing the greedy and corrupt nature that served as the basis for ownership's reputation. Now comes the revenge. Since, after 2 separate conversations, the owner didn't seem to grasp that the open positions would yield at least some income and thus additional profit, I decided not to mention it again. I sent him back the entire $1.35 million and continued to manage the open positions to the best of my ability. And here's the kicker, the owner never brought it up again. He seemed to think the $1.35 million payment was the entire value of the account and never understood or remembered that open positions still existed. He never asked for records, tax documents, or any time of audit or financials. Given the fact that he was dishonest with me, I didn't feel the need to disabuse him of that notion. Ultimately, after a bit more net gain, I covered all of the shorts and exercised all of the options for an additional $1.8 million. I worked for the company for 3 more years, and the owner never asked about it during my tenure, after I gave notice, or since. I know it's a bit crass and even shady, but given his dishonesty with me over the $70,000, I felt justified in keeping the additional $1.8 million. I paid taxes on the gain and went on my way with a fantastic nest egg. Nobody has asked about it since, and I have only told the story to a few people. The final ironic cherry on top of this sundae is that during my remaining 3 years I gained greater influence with ownership and position within the company. They considered me loyal for giving them money back and not making too much of a stink about the $70,000 profit. Little did they know I got the better of them. The company eventually folded due to family disputes. But my understanding is that ownership walked away in very good financial position. They likely could have been a much better and greater company had they not practiced the same dishonesty that they showed me with their vendors, clients and employees. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you have a great day. Bye bye.